Sicilian defense, open, accelerated dragon, Maroczy bind formation, 5, nf66.nc3d67.b2nxd48.qxd4bg79.bg50010.qd2. Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening. Sharp games are frequently the result of starting with the king's pawn, since it dominates the center and frees up the bishop and queen on the light squares. The c-pawn in the Sicilian defense controls the d4 square. Nf3 moves the knight toward the center in anticipation of a pawn push on d4, where it will be ready to retake the piece if black captures on d4. The dark squared bishop is getting ready to be fianchetto onto the long diagonal. The pawn on c5 is attacked, center space is taken up by d4, and the dark squared bishop can advance. Cx d4 captures the central d4 pawn and opens up the center. Nx d4 captures the d4 pawn and places the knight in the center. Nc6 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the knight on d4 and controls the e5 square. c4 obtains room on the queen side and center and gets ready to advance the knight to c3. Nf6 develops the knight toward the center, attacks the e4 pawn and controls the d5 square. Nc3 controls the d5 square, advances the knight toward the center, and protects the e4 pawn. Nx d4 captures the knight on d4 and forces qx d4 from white. After black plays bg7, there may be tricks against the queen on d4. Qx d4 recaptures the knight and pins the knight on f6 to the rook on h8. d6 controls the e5 square and allows the light squared bishop to develop. b2 develops the bishop toward the center and prepares to castle. Fianchetto move bg7 places the bishop on the long diagonal. The bishop is developed by bg5, and the knight on f6 is attacked. Castling gets the king out of the center and activates the rook. qd2 develops the queen toward the center, prepares to castle and creates a battery on the c1h6 diagonal. Games master. It is the final book action. This develops a rook off its starting square, getting it into the action. It is best. Balanced, neither player ever had an advantage. That game was pretty competitive. Both players had an amazing opening.